For the fall invasion, for over 20 years, the FM and Lakes area have trusted Midwest Pest Control to protect their homes. It's time to stop these creepy crawlies like spiders, wasps, and mice from making themselves cozy in your home. We're not just here to manage the issue, we're here to prevent it altogether. Guaranteed. Contact Midwest Pest Control today. Midwest Pest Control, doing our part to keep those pesky pests in check.
The team at Citywide Electric has over 60 years of experience in electrical work. Experience you can trust for design, repair, and installation of any home or business electrical project. A small local company working in the communities where they live. Nolan, Bryce, Brady, and Jay work hard to get projects done on time, while Kevin and Mason take pride in finding quick and cost-effective solutions. Sean, Cody, and Brent use knowledge to assist in designing a solution that makes your life easier. Citywide Electric, your trusted electrical team in the Dakotas and Minnesota. Online at citywide-electricnd.com.
Weather and news, fast and first.
WDAY Radio, AM 970 and FM 93.1. WDAY, Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo. Now, from the WDAY Radio Newsroom.
With a check of your news headlines, I'm Chris Larson reporting. Minnesota hospitals are preparing for a shortage of
Welcome. Welcome to another edition of The Hockey Guys. Jeff Bradall, Coach Dean Wilson, and we have Eddie Christian, the professor, and Doc Phil Johnson out on vacation. The question of the day is, if you were Eddie Christian's wife, what would you put in your ears for the next week while he's on vacation? When she's on vacation with her husband, that's the question. If you want to call 293-9000, 701-293-9000. Well, what do you think there? We've got a guest coming up at 9:34, David Hoff, head coach of the men's 2024 sled hockey team, 17th year with the program. Always a great guest. Anytime you can get an Olympic coach, that's fantastic. The last Olympic coach we had was Tony Granato. Good morning, Wills.
Good morning. When you said we were having Dave Hoff on here, I mean, Simone Biles, she's got tons of medals, but I think crazy Dave Hoff, he's got like 3 gold medals already from Botno. I mean, he's kicking it as a coach and a great man, but a great coach, but he's had a lot of success.
Well, I've counted over 12 with all the coaches involved in that program. David has definitely set forth the standard, but he took over from a legend, an absolute legend who put his selflessness ahead of his hockey career. And we'll have David visit about who that person is. But, Wills, we had some games in the NCHC last night. We had the new one, the new kid on the block, Arizona State, 8-1 over the Air Force Academy. So they started the season off right.
I was really shocked. That was the biggest lopsided game of the night that I was really shocked at the results of that. But, Arizona, I think I talked about it a couple of years ago. They had the number 1 recruiting class coming in, so why wouldn't you want to play in Arizona, right? You play and you go in your backyard and you golf, but they really kind of handed it to Air Force last night.
You know what? That bodes well for the NCHC, as they are the new kid, the new team in the league, the best league in college hockey. We have a caller right out of the chute on line 1. Terry, good morning. Where are you calling from?
Good morning from Fargo.
Well, good morning, Terry.
And I'm just checking in. I look forward to you guys coming back. I'm the guy that doesn't know much about hockey, but I listen to you when you guys come on every weekend.
Well, you know what? If you don't know much, you can get on the staff here with the rest of us, man.
Yeah, just grab a Hams beer, sit down, and we started, hey, Terry, in all honesty, we started pre-partying preparation for the show at 6 o'clock this morning. The only thing that kept our tent down from blowing to Castleton was our cooler of Hams beer, honestly.
Yeah, I started at 7.
Well, this morning, you see those guys Thunder Road? Shut it down, boys. They're scooting around the cart on those golf carts or buggies or whatever the heck they're on. Going, man, I want to party with those guys.
Well, Terry, listen, thank you very much.
Each year I listen, I do learn more.
Well, that's what one of our goals is. We figure out who can drink the most Hams beer and not. But
right.
we try to have fun. Okay. And, one of the things, Terry, I'll tell you, we play good music, as we refer to them as bumper. But here's the scoop. When this show started, it started over. We want to have our discussion like we were sitting in a locker room. Before we go on the ice, we're playing good music. We're telling jokes. We're picking on each other. And music is a big part of our show. And so what do you think of that?
I think it's wonderful.
Terry, that's
wonderful.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, I don't like to bring up football on this show, but we have a big game in town. Who do you think's going to win that game?
NDSU by 10.
You're breaking up. We can barely hear you. You're breaking up.
NDSU by 10.
Well, you got to remember, Terry, Coach Wilson and Doc Johnson both played football for the University of North Dakota.
You know, the cool thing about that game is it's going to be a close one. Both teams are having success. You know, Bison's had success for a long time. UND's rocking it this year, so I'm excited to see that game. Hopefully it's tight, and obviously I'm a UND guy, but I just want to see a tight, good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I want a good game. I want a really good game. Hey, Terry, listen. This isn't the first time you're going to call in. Keep us on our toes. Call back, would you please?
Oh, I absolutely will.
Who are you pulling for in NCAA hockey? Who's your team?
I'm not really a hockey guy, but I've always been for UND.
Nice. Now you're learning. That's perfect. It's good. That's a good choice.
Yep.
I didn't hear that. What was that? I was cracking a beverage.
No, no, UND. You can't go wrong there, right? You know you're going to get close to winning the Stanley Cup or the NCAA championship every year. Good choice.
You know, Terry. Go ahead, Terry. I interrupted you.
Sorry. Back when I was in high school, I always rooted for UND in football. Back when it was all the Division II stuff or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, something just clicked. But I don't really have a favorite when those two play. I mean, they're representing the state. It is what it is.
I agree with you 100%. You know, Terry, I'll educate you here a little bit about the NCHC. Okay, there used to be the top league in college hockey was the Western Collegiate Hockey Association, WCHA. And all of a sudden, big money, big TV got involved and formed the Big Ten. And UND at that time lost the Gophers. They lost the Badgers. And it really upset the WCHA as to the – not upset in feeling-wise, but it upset the apple cart with regard to the strength of the teams. And the strength of the schedule has so much to do with the standings and trying to get into the playoffs. So the remaining teams, and not all of them, they pick the top teams and form the NCHC, National Collegiate Hockey Association. And now they have added Arizona State. And they're in the league this year. Next year, you got St. Thomas from Minneapolis coming in. The NCHC is truly the top college hockey program in the nation. And I would say Big Ten's right behind them, but it's a lot of fun. Can you imagine, Terry, you and your significant other jumping on a plane in February, going down to watch a weekend where North Dakota hockey is playing Arizona State? Well, you're gonna see a legion, all those airplanes absolutely full. But Terry, listen, we're up against a hard break. Okay. Thank you for calling. Truly enjoyed visiting with you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And
we appreciate it.
I'll continue listening.
Hey, well, thank you so much. And anytime you want to come by for a beverage, you're sure welcome. Now, listen, we've got about 40 seconds here remaining. We want to thank our sponsors this year, and we can't do this show without them. And Valley Imports, Ham Beer, Citywide Electric, Gateway Chevrolet. But we have a lot of other great teammates, and they're coming up next after this break, and we'll be back with more hockey talk, the greatest hockey talk in the country, the Hockey Guys. Hey, Wills, here's some hockey music to get the Hockey Guys fans out there listening geared up, ready to go. Hey, listen, before we go any further, let's say a little condolences to the Demers family. Chad Demers, a legend of North Dakota hockey, truly an ambassador, a hero to many, passed away in the last 2 days, and it hit everybody in the hockey community, both high school, college, juniors, the players he coached when he was coaching hockey. He will be sorely missed, and our condolences to his wife and his kids. Tough loss. What a fighter, right? What a fighter.
What a battle he went through, and I'll just shout out, he's Grafton boy. I remember he haunted me as a coach. Great player, but he had the whole package. He was one of the great player, intelligent, good person, and that's what I tell players all the time. But he was a guy that he made stops. He was at Fargo Force, Air Force Academy. I know Paul Weisgarber played with him. Both those kids, I mean, they were just way up their rank. Augustana, it's going to be, I think of Garrett Raboyne, head coach of Augustana. It'll be a heavy night too. It's a lot of emotion, on the ice, off the ice, but just to the family, Demir's family up in Grafton, and our prayers and thoughts. Shout out to all the, just a shout out to the family.
Yeah, and if any of you out there listening want to give us a call, 293-9000, just to give us your Chad Demers memory to help ease your pain, feel free to give us a call. I know Chris, who's listening, you could speak for the next 5 days on your relationship with Chad, but it's a really bad situation. But you know what? He's in a better place today. Wills, go run through a couple scores that caught your attention last night in college hockey.
Well, you got Michigan State 2-1 over Lake Superior, Mankato over Michigan 5-2.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that Michigan State game. Lake Superior.
Overtime too. I forgot.
Ooh, Lake Superior. That's in the CCHA, and for Terry, those are the teams. That was a league that started after the leftover teams that were not invited into the NCHC, and it expanded beyond that. But Michigan State was, I'll tell you, rated the number one team in the country and the most favorite team to win the national championship this year. And for Lake Superior to take that team into overtime, boy, that's a good exhibition battle between the Big Ten and the CCHA. You look at the games tonight, Wills, there's some great exhibition games. Wisconsin at Omaha. And Omaha is one of those teams. You play on their rink, watch out, because they're a different team on their home rink than they are on the road. You've got Miami versus Ferris State. Again tonight, it was Miami 3, Ferris State last night 3. Arizona at Air Force once again. And Denver at Anchorage. And I'll tell you what, if you don't think the fans in Anchorage, Alaska are going to go nuts, that's going to be a very, very fun game. And then the University of North Dakota taking on Augustana at the Ralph tonight, and that's Augustana Stanley Cup, baby.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Garrett Raboyne, what an opportunity. I mean, it's always those schools where when you're the best in the nation, are always up there. People go after you. I got to talk about the Gophers. When you're there, those are the teams you want to take. The St. Clouds want to beat the Gophers. Mankato want to beat the Gophers. Boston, East Coast, those are the teams you want to beat because they're there every year. And it's, I always told my guys, a baseline, where you're at and where you want to be. After tonight's game, if you win, you're on perfect pace. If you're not, you got some improving to do.
Yeah, I take a look. If I were to pick the top two teams to reach the playoffs, if they can get into separate brackets in the NCAA playoffs, Sweet 16, I like Denver and I like North Dakota. I think those teams those two teams are going to be tough. A lot of those teams, Minnesota, you mentioned the Boston colleges, they have a lot of sweet, pretty, shiny new objects coming on their team this year. But I'll tell you what, you take a 21-year-old man playing against a 17-year-old kid, you put the puck in the middle of the ice, Wilson, and you're going to play for $100,000. I don't think that little shiny object is going to touch that puck. First thing is that 21-year-old is going to put a right-hand hook right in their face, right?
Well, yeah, no doubt. I mean, when I was at UND, obviously, when the seniors, they weren't afraid of us rookies coming in. But, I look at just exactly what you said, that the maturity, physically, mentally, but I'm checking the rosters out too, and there's a little pocket of freshmen, true freshmen, right? But most of them have been around. They played juniors, they're seasoned, they're ready to go, and they're beefed up. Now you got two 21-year-olds going against each other at center ice.
You mentioned when you grew older in years at the University of North Dakota, and freshmen came in and you weren't afraid of them. What I've seen in the last 2 years is freshmen that may have been a fourth-line player, maybe get some third-line time, and the fifth or possibly the sixth defenseman on these teams, they go, they go into the portal, right? Because they think, oh, man, I should be getting a lot more time, coach. Play me, coach, right? And they look and see who the team's recruiting. Oh, God, they're recruiting 3 more forwards, 2 more defensemen, right? And they get the attitude of, hey, I'm going to be competing again for my spot. And I would have said, and I know you, Wills, would have said the same thing, bring those freshmen on, and in the first scrimmage, I'm going to drop my gloves against every one of those guys, right? Or if not, I'm going to put them through the plexiglass into the second row. That's what your mindset would be. But that mindset isn't there anymore. They enter the portal because they think the new shiny object coming in as a freshman is better or going to get more ice time than then. But the issue with the portal is you take a look at the 200-some kids that enter the portal, you have 150 of them that are not playing hockey anymore. They're not being picked up. So what is that doing to college hockey? I think it's increasing the talent pool is what it's doing.
You know what? It's, after the pandemic, the beast popped out there. Is it going to dissipate? Is it going to hang around? It created a whole new dimension. And like you said, as a former coach, it used to drive me nuts. If I beat you out, that's okay. But if you beat me out, I don't want to play and take my puck and I want to go home now. Suck it up and go. And then the other piece of it is, where did this kid come from? I mean, guys just King David Gretzky, when you were taking off his line and put another line and go, doggone it, I'm not going to the Pro Bowl. You know what I mean? Those guys that say that, they go, I'm doing the All-Star game every year because I'm Gretzky's line mate. I mean, just stick with me. I remember Crazy John Marks said he said one time he was playing forward with Chicago. And he told him the story, but he laughed. He said, I think it was Stan Mikita. He goes, anytime you step over that far blue line, give it to me and you get an assist. Just give it to me, Well, I'll tell you a true story. Jim Mawson, who was a defenseman from St. Paul, myself, and Mark Hugelin, who was Minnesota Hockey Player of the Year and transferred from University of Minnesota to North Dakota, who had to sit out his season. So it was Mark Hugelin, Jim Mawson, and myself. You know what? We were the fifth-line players, and we battled every frickin' practice. And it wasn't that we were not talented, but I'll tell you what, we were slower, could not transition the puck as quickly in our mind, Wills. You know how that is. And granted, I played in the USHL, the Saskatchewan Junior League, but there's a different stepping up into the WCHA at that time, right? And we could have all quit, but we didn't. We worked our tails off. The next year, opening weekend, Minnesota Gophers in North Dakota. You know who was playing? Mark Hugelin, Jim Mawson, Jeff Bradall. We were playing, and 3 freshmen were not. And you know what? Back then, you had the portal. Did it look better? We never had it. And you know what? None of us would have done that because we had the goals, the guts. That's what our goal was achieved,
at the first game in the next season.
And you know what? And I throw out to every student that I've had or every player that I've had that goes to the next level, I said, I'll give you one word of advice. Work hard while you wait, because you don't want to lose your spirit and your drive and the love for the game. So I tell players that all the time. Work hard while you wait. Because I remember going to UND and I thought I was a big boy, and all of a sudden I got a guy that's, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. He's a lineman and he's faster than me. So you never know.
Well, listen, we're going to be back with head coach David Hoff of the USA National Sled Hockey Team. Give him a shout out and he's in Czechia right now. So we'll be back right after this. This song's for you, Wills. It's your workout song.
My workout song has got to be elevator music.
Well, listen, we're trying to get David on the line. I can text him. He's giving me the thumbs up, but the phone call to Ostrava, Czechia, where David's at right now, we're waiting for someone. We're waiting for Olga to hang up the phone so we can get a free line there. But talking about David, Coach David Hoff from Botno, North Dakota, I should say. He has coached or been the assistant coach on 5 Paralympic Winter Game gold medals, 6 International Paralympic Sled World Hockey Championship gold medals, 10 Para Hockey Cup titles, and I'll tell you what, he definitely is one of the top coaches in the country to relate to players. And it sounds like we got David on the line. David, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. Where the heck are you?
Well, it's good afternoon, almost good evening here. I'm over in Ostrava, Czechia right now with our U.S. sled team.
Well, what are you, Coach Hoff, what are you predicting? What does it look like for your team in the tournament this year? Is that the Olympic part of it, the world, or what tournament is that?
We're over here. It's just beginning of for us, I guess you'd say the 24-25 season. It's kind of a 4 nations tournament we have over here in Czechia every year to start the year. Us, Canada, Czechia, and Italy are the 4 teams, but really nothing more than probably what we'd call an exhibition tournament at home, chance for us to play 5 games over the next 10 days and really just see where some players are at going into the season.
You know, David, when I had gotten a hold of you, I think it was about 6 years ago, and you put me in touch with Captain Josh Paul, who's still captain of, I think, your team this year. I was able to find a great video on sled hockey, and there wasn't much on sled hockey. But I'll tell you what, I was trying to find the same video, and I was seeing pages and pages and pages of young kids getting out, enjoying the game of hockey. And it's amazing the growth of sled hockey throughout not just the United States, but the world.
Yeah, for sure. I spent, a lot of time as a high school hockey coach, and that was my passion. But I think now it's really shifted this time in my life to trying to create hockey opportunities for kids with disabilities. And we were all over the country this summer. We did 5 camps, Denver, Minneapolis, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Minot, North Dakota. But all of it was about giving kids opportunities and really, the game of hockey not just being for the traditional boy or the traditional girl, but kids with physical disabilities out there and trying to create those opportunities. And there's been a lot of growth in the last 6 to 8 years for sure.
Hey, Dave, Dean Wilson here. I was pretty excited when I knew.
Hey, that's a voice from the past, David, huh?
For sure, yeah. I was excited when you said Wilson was going to be on this morning as well.
Well, likewise, right back at you. I told Jeff, I said, we did a couple gigs together, Team North Dakota, Chicago, and I think Duckworth still has PTSD from working with me, but, but.
And probably David.
Probably you too. But my question to you is, because this morning I was excited, I go, what do I ask Dave Hoff? But the question I have for you is, it's different, right? I mean, I'm thinking of this crazy thoughts, but training, what do you look for when you're picking a team? So I'll just leave those 2 questions for you. Like, how do you pick the squad and how do you do training differently?
Yeah. If you'd asked me that 14 years ago in 2010, I'd have had no clue because I had really never been exposed to sled hockey. And now in 14 years, I've spent a lot of time around it. But the game itself, the concepts, the ideas, things you would want to teach as a high school coach or a junior coach or whatever out there, the same. It's how the players get around that's different. And I think probably the biggest eye opener to me was when I went the first time and they told me to bring some practice plans. I was like, well, we'll do a little bit of this and then we got to give them rest, because these guys are, it's almost like cross country skiing. They're using their shoulders, and they're going to need some rest. And absolutely not the case. Our guys go hard. We typically practice 60 to 75 minutes. It is hard from start to finish. It's amazing the conditioning that the athletes have in terms of that. But a lot of the things we do are things that I did when I was coaching the able-bodied game. It's just maybe sometimes you have to adapt a little bit because the sled positioning, skating, not able to go backwards, has to adjust a little bit. But, things you and I or the three of us would have been doing back in the 80s and 90s in player development camps are the same things we're doing here.
I took a look at Josh Paul back on a picture this morning of Josh Paul's back in 2000, I think, 17. And he looked like a scrawny little kid. And I look at him now. He's like 3 times the size. His upper body strength is absolutely incredible, David. The training that these players have to have, not just in balance, because they're balancing on a hockey skate with a sled mounted to it, going full speed down the ice, being checked by other players and hacked and whacked with hockey sticks. But the upper body strength, there has to be a massive amount and specific training for these athletes.
I think you just nailed it too, Jeff. And I think if we were, the three of us were thinking, back in the days when players were lifting weights and that was the type of training, and then all of a sudden it became about really being more sport specific. And could you be really specific to the movement, that you needed to strengthen, those muscles? And I think the game of sled hockey has really followed the able-bodied game, maybe a little bit behind it that way, but our athletes train so specific, so much of the shoulder movement, they call them the ski ergs that they get on because they really feel like that gives them a very similar skating, almost to their skating motion. And yeah, as you said, the shoulder strength is incredible. When they take shirts off and you just see them in a short sleeve shirt or whatever it is, the upper body is extremely powerful, but that's their way of getting around. For the able-bodied player, it's that lower body, but for these guys, it's the upper body.
And what's amazing, Wilson's punching me to want to speak to you, but I was watching the Olympics last go-around, and it went into overtime against Canada, I believe. And Canada was a big physical players all over the ice, and they were taking the bodies, but the team speed, when it went into overtime, Canada didn't even touch the puck. The team speed kills. I don't care what sport you're in. Speed kills, and it was amazing when USA Hockey won in overtime. But again, that was all based on speed.
It's funny, and I think you guys can appreciate this, speaking to a couple guys from back in North Dakota, but we have a real philosophy here about it is about speed kills, and it's about taking chances offensively. It's about attacking with 4 or 5, believing that we're going to get 5 for every one that we give up. But that really was something I heard from Dean Blaze when I sat at a coaching clinic one time. I think he spoke to us as high school coaches, and a belief that, you got to believe in what you do. And for us, it is, we think we're really, really skilled offensively. We're going to take some chances. We're going to have guys jumping in the rush. And like I said, a philosophy that I picked up back in North Dakota as a young high school coach is something that we're employing here. But I think we've really changed the game of sled hockey with that thought and with that philosophy.
Go ahead, Wells.
Yeah, and Dave, another question I have is I'm still connected with the high school world. And if you have a son or daughter that, because you don't have a bigger population, right? So how do you get those opportunities? What advice would you give me if I had a son or daughter and go, you know what, how do I get my son or daughter to train, or where do they go? How do they get these opportunities?
Well, right now, in our area of the country, probably the 2 biggest programs are Hope Inc. out of the Fargo Moorhead area, really trying to create opportunities for kids with disabilities, and Prairie Grit out of Minot. Those 2 both are just outstanding organizations that have a lot of kids involved. You get down in the cities now, the Hendrickson Foundation is putting a lot of money into sled hockey, trying to create events and opportunities, tournaments for those kids on, monthly basis and things like that. It's really cool, the growth, and that some of those groups have taken an interest in it. But the other part I'd always say is, if you're in a smaller association, you're somewhere, and the disabled population isn't, you don't have 5 or 6 players. The great part about sled hockey is the 3 of us could jump in a sled and play. The sled really levels the playing field, and we all have to move around in the sled. But you can use able-bodied people to fill out teams, at those, I'll say younger, at those recreational levels when people are just learning to play and trying to create opportunities for kids to play. Obviously, when you get to the level we're at here, you have to have the physical disability. But, in other areas, I always encourage people, hey, maybe a dad or a mom or a brother or a sister jumps in and participates as well.
David, you're being too kind to Wilson. We would have to have double seaters to sit on it and double runners now for our sleds.
And a motor. Got to have a motor. Electric.
And a motor. Well, we've got about 1 minute left here, David, but I want to give a shout out to Jeff Sauer, head coach. He was at Colorado College. He was at, for the most part, the University of Wisconsin. 650 games he coached in college hockey, 2 national championships. Then Guy Gosselin stepped up to the plate, and for the past 17 years, you've been the assistant coach and head coach, and you, David, are establishing a legacy, and I'm going to give you 15 seconds to make a comment.
Well, I just want to say Jeff Sauer, Guy Goslin. Don't forget Mike Surdich, a guy who was part of it.
That's right, Mike Surdich
helping
was
out all the
too.
way. But I got to thank the two. I got to thank the 2 of you guys, because I got my start at a player development camp with you and with Wilson high school hockey, and I just wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people like you guys. So thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
David Hoff, head coach of the USA Hockey men's sledge hockey team. Welcome back to the Hockey Guys, the best college hockey radio show in the country. Want to give a shout out to some great sponsors: Valley Imports, Hams Beverage Wholesalers, Citywide Electric, Gateway Chevrolet, Fargo Force going to have another great season this year. Bacon's Trend and Dakota Refrigeration, Walton Tire and Service, and Carpet World.
You know, I got a few shout-outs. I kind of made a list today, but I'm going to throw out Rachel Herzog. You know, she played for St. Cloud. She was worked for Channel 6, WDAY Channel 6 as a sports announcer. She's got a huge big job. I go, she told me New Jersey, NHL. You know, NHL New Jersey, host and hockey analyst, that gal knows her hockey. She played at St. Cloud. She knows her hockey. I got to brag about it, though. I just laughed because she said her first game, she was nervous, first game, and 70 more games to go. You know what I mean? But it's another one. You know, a couple more shout-outs. I got to go Scotty Oliver. You know, Scotty, Hockey Hall of Fame in Minnesota. It's huge. His path was the same way as me. His pathway was he came down for football, and we ended up coaching hockey. Both of us did the same thing. We ended up coaching more hockey, and they go, how does that work? You know, but Canada, you know, you play hockey first and then football, you know. But so, and that's Nick Oliver's dad. You know, Dave Tippett, unbelievable. You know, his career, Hall of Fame at UND with homecoming. Was it last week? You know, where he's in the Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. I mean, you just followed his career, what he's done, just a leader, class act.
One of the best teammates ever.
Yeah. Ethan Frisk, I saw he dressed for San Jose Sharks. I forgot about him, but I loved him as a player. You know, he wasn't big, but you could see the ice well. Very just smart player, you know. And like I said, I'm rambling through some thoughts and ideas.
Well, I'll tell you what. I predicted Ethan Frisch is going to have about a 10-year to 15-year professional hockey career with his skill, the way he moves that puck, and he doesn't put his body in positions where he can get hurt. He's a banger. Has a long career in front of him.
Tyler Clevin with Ottawa. We hope he stays up in the big leagues. He's a bruiser. He's a good kid, but he's always adjusted a little bit. Even at UND, I thought he tweaked it a little bit, improved his game. I look for him to have a good career, you know, and hope he stays up in the big leagues. And he's just a strong, big boy and a good hockey player.
You know what? If you coach Tyler Clevin, you know what you would tell him? Just go out and play. Because the kid has played hockey growing up in his rink outdoors in the backyard that his daddy put up. I'll tell you what, that kid has a fierce, ferocious defenseman, a banger. And when he can, unleash that slap shot, watch out.
Yeah, he had a heavy shot. Mach 5, get out of the way. He had every shot, you know. A couple other things, you know, that I'm not on the pulse of it, but like NCAA voting on the Canadian Hockey League juniors to be eligible, which could be a huge game changer, I think. You know what I mean? Another one I really like is hosting regional tournaments. I think Fargo's got landed a couple. I don't know exact dates. I want to say like 25, maybe 26, you know, but their host, I just drove me nuts when they would, you know, a team would do well and they'd have a host site in Helsinki or something. You know, I'm going, what are you doing? I mean, a team does well, they should be rewarded with their own fan base and be able to stay put and have it started out there. My thoughts.
Well, listen, you go to Helsinki to play the quarterfinals, and you may get 10 parents showing up, and that's not a way to play that tournament. Plus, you got to be in it to make money. The NCAA has to make money, and you put them in the Shields Arena, 5,000-seat arena, one of the best arenas in the country, right? And that's plumb full. I don't care if it's St. Cloud versus Duluth or the Denver versus Canisius, right? It doesn't matter. We love great hockey, and they can fly in here. They can drive in here. It's cheap in our community. Great facilities, great area to tailgate. Absolutely. Put it here.
You know, I remember a story while the World Juniors were in Grand Forks, way back, Crosby's there, a while back. I talked to a woman there knew hockey more than anybody ever thought of. Where that's when she took her vacation with the World Juniors all the time. Her and her husband, that's what their trip was. Every year they would go to the World Juniors and go watch it. And hockey people are hockey people. They want to watch good hockey, and it's a good, easy location. They're there.
But you know what? The Canadian hockey fans, they're smarter than most hockey fans. And here's a great story. I was leaving the bar during the tournament, closing time, and there were 4 Canadians wearing their jerseys walking out in front of me. They were holding up one of their buddies. He could barely stand, barely walk. He was so intoxicated, right? And they helped him get in the driver's seat of the vehicle. They closed the door. The other 3 jumped in a different car and drove away. And they had to get over the bridge from East Grand to Grand Forks. Well, guess what car the police pulled over, right? And when they pulled the guy over, they got him out of the car. The guy was completely sober. They asked, "What are you doing?" "We were watching. He could barely walk." And he goes, "Well, I'm the designated drunk guy. My buddies got home already back to the hotel."
You talk about
that's an old Canadian trick, eh, Wilson?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, the other one, I always tell the story. People go, "Where are you from?" I go, "Thunder Bay, Ontario." They go, "Only wild women and hockey players from there." I go, "Hey, my mom's from there." Go, "Oh, what position did she play?"
Well, I'll tell you what. This year of college hockey is going to be, I think, the best year ever. You take a look at the Gophers. The Gophers are going to be a stud team, whether they can put it together or not. North Dakota, Denver, St. Cloud's going to be a talk about team that's renewed right now. Duluth Bulldogs. Watch out. And Mike Hastings in Wisconsin. Watch out. Look what he did last year with that program. Coach Hastings turned it around in 1 year.
And look at all the local boys and gals around that are starting to bump it out there. You got Zach Sandy with the Bulldogs. Hopefully you get some more playing time as a goalie. You just got more opportunities of players. Shout out to the Mayak. Elliot Bates, I don't know if anybody works harder than him, traveling everywhere, helping people out. I have a friend from Sweden that he landed up in Corpus Christi down and helping them out land, get located, treating these guys right so they can have good careers and lose that positive drive, But shout out to the Mike, Kirk Olam, and, they're working hard. And, women's hockey, Brian Adalski at St. Cloud, that guy knows what's going on. He's going to be in the bump of being a contender for being a national champion.
Not only are the players getting better, the coaches are getting better. Listen, last night I was talking to a college recruiter. I'm not saying who or where, because I don't want to violate any type of rules or policies. This person was in Craig, Colorado. You know who he was watching? Cooper Klaus, Mason Ray, Jake Verwest, and Walker McGillis. All North Dakota boys.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, it's getting stronger everywhere. Just more opportunities, more people are playing, girls and guys side, more opportunities.
Well, listen, thank you for listening to the Hockey Guys this week. We're going to be back next week, same time. We greatly appreciate Terry who called in.
Hey,
all
shout
of you
out
for
to
listening.
the duck hunters out there. It's a 90-mile-an-hour wind. Good luck getting them out there, Jake.
And Coach David Hoff. And we'll be back next week for another edition of the Hockey Guys.
A small local company working in the communities where they live. Nolan, Bryce, Brady, and Jay work hard to get projects done on time, while Kevin and Mason take pride in finding quick and cost-effective solutions. Sean, Cody, and Brent use knowledge to assist in designing a solution that makes your life easier. Citywide Electric, your trusted electrical team in the Dakotas and Minnesota. Online at Citywide Electric.